Here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Cerrone versus Gaethje. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Kyle Pollock versus Austin Herbert. And to me, both these guys are more or less well-rounded strikers. They're primarily strikers with decent grappling. I just think Kyle's the much more technical striker. I don't think that, Austin's probably a little bit better with his jiu-jitsu, but I think these guys are both pretty even when it comes to takedown offense and defense. That I just don't see it hitting the ground. I think it'll be on the feet all 3 rounds, and I just think Kyle's the better striker. I don't know if he'll get a finish just because Austin's never been knocked out, but I do think he's going to win all 3 rounds. So I got Kyle winning by 30-27 decision. Next is Louis Smolka versus Ryan McDonald. And to me, Ryan McDonald, he's a tough guy. He's a good striker, but I don't think he's super well-rounded. I mean, on the ground, like I said, I don't think he's great on the ground overall. I just feel like Lewis, if he gets it there, he should be able to win by submission pretty easy. I mean, if Ryan can catch him before he gets him there, he might win, but realistically, I just don't see that happening. I think Lewis gets a takedown sooner or later and wins by a rear naked choke probably in the first round. Next is Chaz Skelly versus Jordan Griffin. And to me, other than pure wrestling, I think Jordan Griffin's better everywhere. I think he's the more experienced fighter. I think his striking and overall jiu-jitsu are better than Chaz Skelly's. I think his conditioning's way better. Like I said, other than just the straight wrestling, I think Jordan Griffin's better everywhere. I mean, Chaz could, win this 2-1 just if he can kind of survive the third. But I don't know. I think Jordan's good with his takedown defense too and getting back to his feet. And I just think he's going to eventually clip Chaz and, just finish him with strikes. I think it's going to be either the end of the second or like the middle of the third. But either way, I think Jordan Griffin wins by like TKO or maybe like a rear naked choke in the late second, early third. Next, we got Brad Katona versus Hunter Azura. And Hunter, he's a good boxer wrestler, but I just think Brad Katona is the much more well-rounded and much more cleaner guy. I feel like his overall technique is just better. Hunter, like I said, he's a decent wrestler with good boxing. He could, I don't really know how he could win this fight because I just think Brad Katona's better everywhere. I think he's much more technical. And I think if it's on the ground, his jiu-jitsu is definitely a lot better than Hunter's is. I just see Brad Katona edging out every single round and maybe getting a late submission if he can take down Hunter, because I know Hunter's got decent takedown defense. But if Katona could take him down and take his back, I think I could see him winning by rear naked choke in whatever round that happens. But I think he just edges out all 3 rounds, so I got Katona winning. Next we got Cole Smith versus John Mills, and these guys are the same. They're both good everywhere. There's no huge holes in the games. They're both boxer, wrestler, jiu-jitsu guys. I just think Cole's better. I've seen him fight in the UFC. As for John Mills, I feel like, he's 9-0 and Cole Smith's 7-0. I just feel like Cole Smith fought a really, really good dude and looked really good doing it. He looks super dominant and almost got a couple of finishes here and there. And just because I've seen him fight in the UFC, it kind of makes me lean towards Cole. But like I said, I do feel like this is one of the closer fights in the whole card just because both these guys are similar in the sense that they have no major strength but no major weakness either. But I'm just leaning towards Cole to get a decision. I say he wins at least 2 of the 3 rounds. Next is Marcin Tybura versus Augusto Sakai. I do think that this is going to be largely just a striking fight. These guys are both primarily strikers. I think if Marcin's smart, he'll try to take this to the ground because I do feel like overall jiu-jitsu, he's definitely better. I think Augusto's got good defense on the ground, but he's not great at getting back up to his feet. I do feel like this could be a lot like the fight Marcin had with Derek Brunson, minus the 3rd round, if he can control it. It's really tough because I think overall, striking-wise, these guys are pretty close. It's just whoever lands that big shot first. But like I said, on the ground, I feel like Tybura has a big advantage. It's tough because, like I said, I feel like slightly leaning towards Sakai just because he hasn't been finished, as where Tybura has been knocked out a few times. But I just feel like Tybura is the better fighter overall, so I'm going to go with Tybura. But I could see Sakai easily catching him and winning by knockout. But like I said, just the fact that he's more well-rounded makes me want to go with him. Because I do feel like if he gets us to the ground, I don't think Sakai's going to get back up. And I think he'll control the whole round once he gets him down. So I've got Marcin winning all 3 rounds and just winning a 30-27 decision. Next is Misha Kurashkov versus Jimmy Crute. And Jimmy Crute, he's looked good so far in the UFC, but he hasn't fought super elite level guys. I feel like this is his first super elite level guy. And these guys are pretty similar. They're both boxer jiu-jitsu guys, but I just feel like Misha's judo is really strong. His takedown defense is really good. And I feel like if he's on top especially, he's going to have a massive advantage over Jimmy Crute. I feel like if Jimmy Cruz on top of him, it'll be close. But like I said, Misha Korshkov, when he's on top of guys, he's like a destroyer. In terms of the boxing, it's pretty close. I think Jimmy kicks a little bit better, but I think Misha's a little bit faster. It's tough, but I do feel like Misha will get a takedown eventually in the first. And when he's on top, I think he's just going to crush Jimmy. I think he's just going to elbow him and either get an arm triangle or just finish him with TKOs from the top. Either way, I just feel like Misha Korshkov is going to get a takedown sooner or later and win by first round finish. Next is Uriah Hall versus Antonio Carlos Jr. And to me, I feel like Uriah Hall's better overall everywhere. I think the only major advantage Antonio has is in the jiu-jitsu, but I don't think Uriah Hall's ever been submitted. I mean, his defense on the ground is really solid. He's not the best grappler overall, but like I said, he's good at not getting hit and not getting submitted on the ground. His takedown defense is above average. I feel like Uriah Hall's biggest strength is just his striking and his overall flashiness. You know, Antonio Carlos Jr., he doesn't have great cardio and he doesn't manage his energy that well. I feel like unless he can submit Uriah Hall in the first, I think the longer this goes, the more likely it is Uriah is going to land that big shot. And I think if Uriah can, you know, he can end at any point in time. I feel like Antonio Carlos Jr., if he doesn't submit Uriah in the first round, I think Uriah will just build momentum and eventually finish Jr. So I'm just going with the more likely scenario in this one. I think Uriah Hall just kind of weathers the early storm, and then late second, early third, he's going to catch Antonio and just win by TKO. Next, we got Michael Pereira versus Tristan Connolly. You know, Tristan's a good jiu-jitsu guy. He's saying this fight is super short notice. His record's like 14-6. All of his wins are by finish. So, like I said, he's a good like ground and pound jiu-jitsu guy, but I just don't think he's good enough to get Pierre to the ground. And I think if he could, Pierre would get back up. I just think Pierre has had way more time to prepare for this fight. Connolly's only had like a week or two. And like I said, I think there's a massive advantage for Pierre in the striking. And I think that he should be able to keep this on the feet and just catch Tristan sooner or later and win by knockout. So I'm going with Pierre to win by first round KO. Next, we got Todd Duffy versus Jeff Hughes. And I don't know why Todd Duffy's such a huge favorite in this fight. Like, I mean, I'm not 100% what the odds are, but I know Todd Duffy's a big favorite. To me, it's like he hasn't fought in forever. And the one time a fight that he was in that went past the second round, he got knocked out. I think he's so big and muscular that his cardio, you know, isn't the greatest. I feel like Jeff Hughes, we've seen this dude can fight all 3 rounds at the same pace. Like, he's kind of chubby, but he's not like fat chubby. He's just kind of chubby. He's got good cardio and he throws out a decent volume. I feel like if Todd Duffy can't catch Jeff Hughes in the first round, I think Jeff Hughes will weather that early storm and win by knockout. And I think that's the more likely scenario, given the fact that Jeff Hughes fights more regularly. And I thought he won his last fight against Marcus Green. You know, his record's like 11-2. I just think he has a massive advantage in cardio, and the fact that he's never been knocked out and he's more active gives him an advantage everywhere. I think Todd Duffy's only way to win is if he catches him with early knockout. It can happen. You know, he's fast, and it's a heavyweight, but the fact that he hasn't fought in like 3 years, to me, you know, makes me lean more and more towards Jeff Hughes. And this is what I think is going to happen. I think Jeff Hughes survives the early storm and then slowly wears down Todd Duffy and wins by TKO like late second, early third. Next, we got Glover Teixeira versus Nikita Krylov. And to me, I think Nikita's the better boxer overall. Like, I think Glover's better in tight spaces, but I think Nikita, with his length, is better on the outside. But what I see happening in this fight is what happened when Nikita fought Jan. I think that if Teixeira gets us to the ground, I think Nikita, you know, he has an active guard, but the problem is really good jiu-jitsu guys are good at getting past his guard and then just getting on top of him and choking him out. That's how most of his losses have happened. It's not like he gets knocked out or anything like that. It's just that better jiu-jitsu guys are able to get past his wild guard and then submit him. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think Glover Teixeira is the better jiu-jitsu guy. You know, he's eventually going to land that takedown, and Nikita's going to give up a position when he's going for a triangle or something. And when he does, Glover's either going to get, you know, an arm triangle or we're going to get choked. I think it's going to happen in either the first or second round. I also think Glover's got a big advantage in the cardio. Nikita tends to gas pretty quick. You know, he looked better when he fought What's-His-Face because he wasn't doing a whole lot, and What's-His-Face, OSP, was doing a lot. He was waiting until OSP gas, but that's not going to happen with Glover. Glover's not going to gas like that. You know what I mean? He can keep the same pace for 3 straight rounds. That's what I see happening. I think Glover is going to gas out Nikita and eventually win by rear naked choke or arm triangle in the first or second round, probably. Finally, we got Donald Cerrone versus Justin Gaethje, and to me, this is all about the distance. I think that, you know, Cerrone's the better kicker on the outside. You know, Justin Gaethje is good at throwing kicks with his combos. I think that this fight's going to be a lot like Donald Cerrone's fight against Alexander Hernandez. I think these guys are gonna trade, move out, trade, move out the whole fight until one of these guys knocks each other out. I think it's gonna be back and forth the entire fight up until one of them catches the other one. And I'm just leaning towards Cerrone. I think that Gaethje leaves his hands really low, and I think eventually Cerrone's going to line up the head kick and win by knockout. I think if Gaethje doesn't knock him out in the first, that's what's most likely going to happen. Like I said, Gaethje fights with his hands super low, and Donald Cerrone's best strike is the head kick. Eventually, he's going to line it up and win by knockout. That's just how I see it. Like I said, it's just, how they fight. Gaethje's either going to land a big overhand right really early, like how he's done his last 2 fights, or they're just going to be trading. Eventually, Cerrone's going to land the head kick. And I'm just leaning more towards the head kick because I think Cerrone's faster. So I think this is going to be a great fight for as long as it lasts. I do think it's going to last at least 2 or 3 rounds. Probably win fight of the night, but I'm leaning towards Cerrone. I think he's going to win by head kick, either in the 3rd, maybe late 2nd, early 4th, something like that. Somewhere in the middle rounds, I think Cerrone's going to land that head kick and win by KO. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.